This week on No Fear or Favor, we spotlight two bills. One, a bill brought by the Great North Innocence Project that will remove time limitations to bring new evidence of innocence. Another, brought by the Judiciary Branch, which seeks to raise jury pay to ensure Minnesota stays compliant with the Constitution by ensuring jury duty isn't only for the privileged few who can afford to serve.
Hello, I'm Jamel Lundy, the Intergovernmental Relations Manager for the Hennepin County Attorney's Office, fancy word for lobbyists. I served in Minnesota House of Representatives for almost 10 years. Hennepin County is the largest county in the state of Minnesota, and the Hennepin County Attorney's Office handles almost half of the state's criminal prosecutions. Follow me as I follow the action at the Capitol with No Fear or Favor.
Last week, House File 2400 was heard. This bill seeks a more reasonable standard for bringing a post-conviction claim based on newly discovered evidence that comes to light more than 2 years after conviction becomes final.
Marvin Haynes serves as a poignant example of why this legislation is crucial. Marvin was wrongly convicted and spent nearly 20 years in prison for a crime he did not commit. It was only through the waiver of the statute of limitations by the Hennepin County Attorney's Office that he was able to have his case considered.
This morning, Judge William Cook signed an agreement made by the Hennepin County Attorney's Office and the defense to set aside Mr. Haynes' wrongful conviction.
We cannot rely on such waivers to ensure justice is served. We need a more reasonable standard in place.
The most basic premise of this bill is that if you have truly new evidence and that could undermine a conviction and it comes to light at any point in time, you should have your day in court. You should get a chance to present that evidence.
I think we have a real problem with courts using procedure. When I say procedure, I mean time. So if you don't submit your new evidence or your case within a certain period of time, the courts have said, too bad.
When I was 16 years old, I was arrested, eventually convicted of murder, even though I did not match the eyewitness description of the perpetrator. Ultimately, I spent nearly 20 years in prison for a crime which I was innocent. The only reason I'm able to testify in front of you today is because the Hennepin County Attorney's Office took the unusual steps of waiving the 2-year statute of limitation and enabled me to get my day in court. Without that waiver, I would be still sitting in prison for something I didn't do.
After his testimony, we caught up with Marvin Haynes to see why this bill was so important.
Because a lot of people didn't want to look at my case, but we can't help you because the statute of limitations is over. It took me literally 19 years for the Innocent Project to be like, look, okay, we're going to try to overcome the statute of limitations. There's other people like me in there, you know what I mean?
Juries are incredibly important. Unfortunately, serving in a jury has become a privilege only some can afford to exercise. Across the state, defendants have filed motions stating the state is failing its constitutional obligations to provide juries that reflect the diversity of their population. As recently as 2022, there were articles with headlines like how all white juries taint confidence in Minnesota courts.
The other thing we're doing here is raising jury pay. I don't know if folks realize that it's $20 a day.
Pay right now is $20 a day. That just makes it impossible for many in our community to serve on our juries. That makes it impossible for us to get the diversity on our jurors.
Last week, the Minnesota House Judiciary Committee heard House File 3872. This is a bill brought by the Judiciary Branch which seeks to raise jury pay from $20 a day to $100 a day.
The requested funding increases would be primarily aimed at increasing the juror per diem and mileage rates to alleviate financial hardship associated with jury duty. Our proposal would increase juror per diem from $20 per day to $100 per day to align with a statewide average of the minimum wage paid for an 8-hour workday.
And with that, let's head across the hallway to the grand jury room to talk to our Deputy County Attorney, Mark Osler, who recently litigated a case before the Supreme Court where jury representativeness was an issue. How's it going, Mark?
Yeah, pretty well.
We at the legislature are seeing a bill brought by the Judiciary Branch that would increase jury pay to $100 an hour. Why do you think that's important?
I think it's crucially important because we have to take the action that we can to make sure that we get as broad a swath of people in the population showing up for jury duty, and especially for people that are doing gig work who can't afford to be away from work for even a day, which is a lot of people. That difference in pay can really make it possible for them to show up for jury duty. And what we're going to see, hopefully, is more representative juries that truly reflect the community.
But is this a statewide issue?
Yeah, we have a statewide jury selection system. So it has to be statewide. In fact, the jury lists are generated by a single vendor for the entire state. So we're really, if we're going to get it right here, that means it's going to get closer to right every place else.
If you'd like to learn more about the post-conviction relief bill brought by Representative Frazier and Chair Latz, or the jury pay raise brought by Chair Becker-Finn and Chair Latz, check out the links below. Please like and subscribe and all that good stuff. Until next time, this has been No Fear of Favor.